Hi, I'm Jim Fisher. I'm the Vice Dean at the school, and I'm also a teacher, and I teach leadership in many of the programs. Now, when I teach leadership, it's one of those topics that everyone is interested in. Everyone thinks leadership course is going to be lots of fun, it's going to be lots of interest. I always get everybody sort of sitting at the edge of their chair when we start. But what I really know is that most people believe that leadership is really about attributes and traits and character and who they are and what they're doing. So I always think as I'm looking around the room that most people are there, they're kind of really paying attention to say, okay, what are those attributes and traits and do I have them? And is this really going to be an affirming activity for me? Or are there some that I'm going to be able to get so I can be a leader? Because most of us would rather think of ourselves as being some people who have this opportunity to lead rather than somebody who's going to have to follow all their life. In fact, that's a poor idea about leadership anyway, that it's not really about attributes and traits. It's a decent idea to try and be one, but trying to bring it down to a few attributes and traits isn't a very useful idea. And it's part of what we think about in leadership is the great person theory. You have to somehow be a great person if you're going to lead. When in fact what we know is people who are leaders, who are able to influence others to do what they want to do, come from a wide variety of backgrounds, have a wide variety of traits and characters and attributes. And the most important thing is not to be trying to find that magic combination. What's more important is to try and use those attributes and traits you have in the most effective way. So for many years, I've actually been much more interested in the mechanics of leadership. What is it that people actually do with the attributes and traits that they have, rather than what attributes and traits they need? Because in fact what we know is people come in lots of different shapes and sizes. So what we really delve into in terms of a course is the mechanics. What are the things that people do that influence other people to follow them? And it's because we know a lot about the mechanics that leadership is in fact now a teachable subject. It is, in fact, it's the most modern of the subjects that are taught in business school. 20 years ago, nobody did teach it, because if it's just about attributes, what could you teach? But what we now believe is that we understand the mechanisms and the mechanics and what it is that people who are able to influence others actually do that creates this force that compels other people to act in a way which this person that we call leader is doing. And of course that's a much more optimistic and productive view of the whole topic anyway, because what it does is it leads us right to this idea that leadership is not just something that happens at the top of an organization or just a few people do it, but it actually leads us to this idea which is prevalent in the most successful organizations, this idea of leadership as being a distributed thing. So we're looking at distributed leadership. And the great organizations in the world and these miraculous organizations like Microsoft and Google and Facebook have been organizations that work and thrive and have grown at a pace and a level of profitability never before seen in the industrialized world. In fact, never before seen in the world anywhere that we have organizations grown at that pace. They only grow at that pace because they have embraced the idea of distributed leadership. They've embraced the idea that in fact it is within the capabilities of many, many people to lead. And in fact, all we have to do is give them a chance and let them step up. And they will, in fact, demonstrate, and they will be able to do things which we never used to think were possible. So that's what we do in leadership. It's mechanics, it's work. It's really, really hard work. By saying it's mechanics doesn't suggest it's easy. It's actually the most difficult and thoughtful work that anybody does, but it's a work that anybody can do who wants to do it.